From October 26th to about the 31st of October, we're coming into a big energy in the sky. There could be a fixed grand cross that involves the asteroids Apollo and Hygeia, Jupiter and Mars. And Jupiter and Mars in opposition during this time is a part of a greater synodic cycle that I'm going to call the war drum cycle. And we're going to talk about how that happened in 2011 and 2022. And it's a part of a greater picture. Now we're going to talk about your sign as well, because this energy can be very powerful for you. It can help you excavate something deeply, deeply buried within you, come to some great revelation of truth in your life, a truth bomb that you might need to know in order to move forward over the next year in a positive way about ambition, drive, action, and decisions that are the most powerful and true for you. Things that are happening in the sky this week, October 22nd to the 31st, could even be informing how you will act when Jupiter goes direct at the end of the month of December into the first 5 months of next year. So you want to stay tuned to understand this cycle in your life. Get your pen and paper, a coffee, a tea, or a glass of wine. And we're going to talk about cycles in the past and how you can overlap that to the present. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothian. I'm a Western tropical zodiac astrologer. I'm using the whole sign house system, minor asteroids, as well as fixed stars. I'd like to help you time your best life by understanding the cycles of the sky and how you can look through those cycles for patterns that repeat. I want to say one small thing about what I'm doing. I'm recording, by the way, October 25th. My Patreon community receives this today. They always receive things early access ad-free. Check it out below. You might be interested. But second of all, just also a quick promo. My 2024 All Signs video pre-sale is on now, delivered to your email box November 25th. This material never goes public, on sale for 35% off. Check the description box below. Those are 12 videos times 75 minutes, plus a PDF guidebook for the year of 24. I love making this content every year, and I always sell it before. As I'm making it, I pre-sale it for a great discount. So check it out below. You won't get this price again. Okay? Now, woo, promos aside, ram's horns here, that's Aries. Let's talk about this sky. So there's something that happens in astrology that's often overlooked, strangely overlooked by some astrologers, which is the synodic cycle of planets. That means that planets come into contact with each other in a conjunction, a square, an opposition, and a square. And they do that cycle of contacting each other in this way on a routine basis. It's called the synodic cycle of planetary movements. And so Mars is a planet that moves about 2 years through the zodiac, and Jupiter 12 years through the signs of the zodiac, or around the sun, in essence, right? That's the orbital time. And basically, when Jupiter and Mars come together in a conjunction beside each other, it happens about every 2 years. But in the sign of Aries, it doesn't happen every 2 years. The last time Jupiter co-joined with Mars was in 2011. And Jupiter and Mars in Aries was 2011. And Jupiter, Mars, and Aries from 2011 to 2013 is a cycle of events that was tipping into action. And you know, Aries is a sign of war, warrior and war and conflict. And we're going to talk about how that cycle of war and conflict in 2011 and 12 compares to this one that we're currently in. Because it was in about 3 degrees of Aries in 2022, in the month of May, if I remember correctly, that the two planets, Mars at 3 degrees of Aries met Jupiter at 3 degrees of Aries, and they combined their forces and set into motion from May of 22 to May of 24, a cycle of war, a cycle of conflict, a cycle of disagreeing, big disagreements in the collective. So we're in the middle of that. No one's surprised that that's happening, because Jupiter is about kings and Jupiter is about war. Only when Mars is involved, then it's very commander-in-chief energy. Jupiter is about truth and justice and goodness, but Mars is about conflict and war. End of story. So this is first part of our recording today. It's going to be what we call the mundane astrology about the world events that occurred in 2011, 12, and 22, 3 into 24 that are about war cycles. But then we're also going to cover the in your own sign content when you'll listen for your sun, moon, and rising. Of course, it's not about war. It's about where that Aries part of your sky has been highly activated in a 2-year cycle from back in 2022. And now with Mars at the opposition point to Jupiter in Taurus, who, by the way, is retrograde in Taurus until the end of this year, how that opposition is a midway point, a halfway point between what was started in your life, okay, understand, in your life, individually, in the Aries part of your chart, right? The Aries, one of 12 pie slices, one houses. It could be the house of marriage, the house of your career, the house of your home. Something was beginning to change in that part of your sky in 2022 May. It doesn't end until 24 around May, you know, like the next cycle will begin. So this is to say, now that Mars is opposite Jupiter, it's a critical turning point in the world and in your life regarding the Aries part of your chart. For instance, my Aries Aquarius rising makes Aries my whole sign, third house. It has to do with travel, trips, siblings, writing project, communication, and social media things. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video because I'm going through a mundane astrology intro and then into your sign. But truth bombs and war rattles, you need to know more about truth bombs and turning points where you're taking some bold, confident, hyper true action and decisions in your life around the 26th of October to the 31st of October, when this opposition is most acute, but it could spill into the early days of November. So I hope that makes sense to you. If I do talk a little fast for you, just don't forget, you can play the slow down speed on the YouTube for free. You can change the speed of listening. Also, a quick note, astrology is a bell curve tool. When we do general astrology, I'm saying for most Aquariuses, for most Tauruses, these are possible things that may occur. And I'm making that statement based on meanings of houses and also the relative strength of these planetary things that are happening, whether they're the ruler of your sign or not. So sometimes I get comments from people like, this is bullshit, this is rubbish, this didn't work for me, I didn't get an inheritance. Well, of course, not every like Pisces or something will get an inheritance. Like that would be ridiculous. I will be saying things like, this is activating your 8th house of chunky money, which could include inheritance. So, you know, you have to put on your brain a little bit, people, just a little bit, and understand how could anything as general astrology, bell curve astrology fit you. There are outliers, there are central tendencies. To get an accurate reading for yourself, you need to see an astrologer. And I'd ask you to see me, but I'm full until like midway through next year. You can get on my wait list. All right, just had to get that off my chest because it never ceases to amaze me. Okay, so let's get going. Let's talk about the mundane astrology. I'm going to show you the sky and then stay tuned for the your sign content. I encourage you to listen to the mundane astrology for the simple reason I won't repeat some of the bigger meanings of what's in the sky for each sign, and you might miss a detail that would be worthy of your attention. Okay, so here we have the sky. Yeah, this is a sky, two-dimensional drawing of a three-dimensional reality. So bottom line, let's talk about some details of the sky. We can see this sky is opening up a doorway here, or an energetic energy, a thing, of Mars moving here through Scorpio, which is his home kingdom, and he's very strong, opposite Jupiter. But what he's doing is he's continuing a synodic cycle from what he began to do at 3 degrees. That's funny, the moon's there. I didn't mean that to happen. At 3 degrees of Aries back in 2022, I believe the month of May. So he started a war drum energy. And this is a Decan or Decan, a first 10 degrees of Aries that is ruled by Mars anyway. So it's Mars on Mars energy. It's very strong. And it was actually the third Decan of Aries that what happened back in 2011 when the joining happened, let's say spring of 2011, when the joining of Mars with Jupiter happened in 2011, was not at the same intensity as the one we have now. It wasn't the Decan ruled by Mars himself. Now, the Two of Wands is interestingly a tarot card associated with this first decan of the first 10 degrees of the sign of Aries. And the Two of Wands is about this guy standing there looking for a ship to come in, so to speak, on a seashore or a shore. But it is a two, and two is about duality and opposition. So we want to keep that in mind. I'm going to read to you from a wonderful website something about this decan. Decans are not my specialty. And this is a website of Susan T. Chang. She is an astrologer. She does a really great job of delineating the intensity of the synodic cycle that started in your life and in the life of the world last May of 2022. But before I do that, what happened in 2011 and 12 in terms of wars? The Iraq war that started in 2023 finally came to an end. Okay, so, but there was also a dispute with the country of Iran, which was a big deal at the time, over the Strait of Hormuz. And countries created a flotilla to make sure that Iran didn't close the shipping channel, the shipping straight lane that the world considers a global shipping channel, but they have coastline there. Iran has coastline there. And so there was this tension and dispute regarding Iran trying to maybe threaten to close the Strait of Hormuz. Now, we do have things going on in the world with Iran right now, and Iran is getting mucked up in the Palestinian and Israel conflict, possibly at greater and greater degrees, and they may do another one of those trump cards. If you guys do this, we're going to try to close the Strait of Hormuz. But there are other areas in the world where we see conflict where it comes to shipping channels or energies like that, or chunks of real estate that are being disputed over. The other thing I want to say about this is that if we go to the container of 2022, when Jupiter and Mars co-joined, I believe in May, I should double check that. I guess I will in a minute. This is the year that in February that the war began. The war began in Ukraine with the invasion of Russia. And it's interesting because one of those global think tanks, it says hotspots to watch out for in 2022, actually warned that Russia and Ukraine were going to be a problem. So even though Mars co-joined with Jupiter in May, it still is emblematic of a year in which there's going to be some major conflagration. So we're still in that Ukraine war, but now we have this opposition. All right, so it started in May of 2022, and now Mars is halfway around the story from where it began over here and is now opposite Jupiter. Okay, round 2, Synodic Cycle. This is a critical halfway mark, not just with the war in Ukraine. And don't forget, the Iraqi war ended during the halfway mark energies. During the first conjunction, I apologize. But we can see maybe major changes in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, hopefully for better, especially with Venus moving into Libra coming up soon in November. After November 8th, Venus in Libra can bring peace to places that are in turmoil in terms of war. But also think about how other conflicts that have emerged in 2022, such as there was a lot of tension with Taiwan and China and the United States as well. So that story could be escalating. And of course, unfortunately, the Israeli-Palestine conflict is ongoing during this opposition to the god of war in a sign in which he's capable of war. Scorpio, his home kingdom, especially stealthy war, opposite Jupiter. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the Decan in which this thing began in 2022. Why am I going back to 22? Because it's like the pitch pipe, guys. It's like the beginning of how it started. And I'm going to give you the date. In 2022, it was May 29, 2022. In 2011, this 2-year war cycle with Mars and Jupiter started in May 1st of 2011. Add 2 years, right? Okay, so let's talk about the Decan. I was going to call it the Decan. And the Strait of Hormuz thing happened in 2011 and 12, according to Wikipedia. There was basically a coalition of countries versus Iran. And the dispute started in December of 2011. So after that conjunction in May, and the Iranian vice president threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I just want to give you an example of the kind of stuff that happens when this Jupiter conjunction to Mars happens in the sign of war, the sign of Aries. So Aries Decan 1, where this began to emerge in 2022 May as a 2-year war story. According to this writer, make sure I have her name right. Wrong one. Wrong one. I've got my websites open. I got a whole bunch of great. There she is. Go check her out. I don't know if I got her name right. So I apologize. Earlier I got it wrong. It's Tsu San Chang. I'm going to put a link to this website in my description box to honor this person's content. The Two of Wands, Aries, is a Decan ruled by Mars, Decan ruled by Mars. It's got a hermetic title called Dominion, and it also corresponds to the Tower in the Tarot and the Emperor in the Tarot, 2 major arcana, although the main card is the Two of Wands in traditional Decan astrology. So she says that this happens to be the Mars ruling this first Decan. Okay, so she does say it is one of the most martial or warlike parts of the sky in terms of Decans. I'm going to try to give a good quote here for her. She says, Oh, sorry, I'm trying to read it. Uh, Headbutting, conflicts, um, rutting, dominating, spoiling for a fight. Keywords: rutting, dominating, spoiling for a fight. There will be breakages, conquests, and headaches for all. And the image is a man holding the globe in his hand for the Two of Wands. And she also mentions this could be a precursor energy to colonization. Precursor energy, I could read this to you directly if you like, because she calls this section Enter the Patriarchy. All right. But she does mention that this very martial energy, this very masculine energy, connected to Tower and Emperor, which is of course like king energy, can be a precursor to colonization. There's a lot of worry, of course, in Israel that what Israel's doing in Palestine is basically, some people are saying it's ethnic cleansing. Please, this is astrology. This is not my political beliefs, but they're pushing people to the south to colonize or take over the north part of the Gaza Strip. Is that true or not? I don't know, but look at the energies of what started back in May of 2022. I'm not tracking the Palestine conflict with Israel. If you have any of my comments, time to do that. Were there any flarings going on in May, June, maybe kind of thing, May, June of 2022, when the Synodic Cycle first began to kick off? Okay. There's an armed warrior picture for this Decan in the Picatrix, which is a magical document. So there's already, armed warrior holding a sword or an axe, restless, angry energy. And the Latin edition of Picatrix describes this man with the sword or the axe, because there's little pictures for magic in the Picatrix for each decan, as audacy, fortitudinous, altitudinous, and invert. Okay. Bold, strong, tall, and shameless. Bold, strong, tall, and shameless. What is about bold, strong, tall, and shameless that was triggering or an inception of a beginning of something in this war energy of May 2022 that is now coming to a critical oppositional turning point? So I'm not going to keep reading this. I'll give you the link in the description box for those who want to read more about the decan that this whole thing began in. Now, look, there's so many flashpoints of war in the world, right? There's just so many possibilities, but Iran is getting mucked up in this thing. Warning, Israel said it will decimate Iran if it dares to get involved. Iran is also saber rattling back. So you have Israel and Iran being brought into tension with regards to what's going on here. The Strait of Hormuz Iran thing happened the last time Jupiter and Mars were in Aries as a conjunction, in 2011. Anything else I want to say before I go into all signs? I would say to you that if you are thinking of some area in your life where you need to de-escalate, where you want to bring a sense of peace, with after November the 8th, Venus moving into Libra, de-escalation, peace treaties, harmony, where equilibrium, balance is trying to be restored in all areas of discord in each of our lives. But just consider that this tension that we're experiencing on the 26th of October through to maybe even November 1st and 2nd, because Mars tends to deliver the goods post conjunction even, you might find that the Aries part of your sky is where you need to look, because this is what was triggered in 2022. But of course, look to the Scorpio part of your sky and the Taurus part of your sky, where this opposition critical turning point is happening. And I'll be delineating that for you in the all signs portion. Now, I made that smaller to go backstage, so let's make it bigger. Couple of thoughts about this fixed grand cross that I started to mention but didn't really tell you more about. So the minor asteroids can be like, truly the devil is in the details. Let me add Hygeia. I actually knocked her off the game board here, and I promise you we will do your sign. Hope you get relaxed, have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, get into the mode of understanding the sky. I always say astrology is a empirical game. You ask a question and you ask if it's true. You don't know that it's true, right? You got to watch the sky and see what happens. Think about yourself as a sleuth of the sky. So let's make an annotation just for fun, just to muck it all up. There's Apollo at 0 degrees, at 7 degrees of the sign of Leo. This is on October 26th. He's going to be moving. I'll show you. There's Mars, October 26th, the day after I record. With an asteroid America, an asteroid ops or abundance and opportunity and thrival and prosperity and growth. There's Mars and Scorpio with that wife of Saturn, opportunity, thrival, growth. okay, asteroid. And over here is Jupiter. And he's with Uranus, which brings you more tower energy of shock and awe. And there's Hygeia. And Hygeia is the goddess of health and hygiene. And she's in Aquarius, we the people. Rules about health, hygiene, and health matters. Now, remember I started off by saying truth bomb. Why? Well, this is also, number one, it's a grand cross. Apollo is the god of plagues, okay? I know he has other things. He also had medicine to help people when plagues happen, but he's also known to have incited a plague when he was in a pissed off mood. And so we have the plague energy, prophecy and plague with Apollo here. We have an opposite Hygeia, health and hygiene, and all the measures for health and hygiene and wellness that we've been experiencing for the world, for the collective, since the pandemic began in earnest in 2020. And then we have the opposition, that's called a grand cross, to Jupiter, the god of truth, truth, truth. And in Scorpio, everything is also about going under the surface, picking up the rock, looking behind the scene, looking past the narrative for what is really true. That's why Scorpio is often considered a sign associated with stealth, NSA, spies, but also it's secrecy, but also conspiracy theory. So here we have, but how many times does a conspiracy, like the lab leak, turn out to be the truth, you know? So you have to judge conspiracy in the rear view mirror, because often in the front view mirror, when we first hear about somebody's comment, you go, oh, that's so crazy, that's a conspiracy theory. And then it later turns out to be the facts. Okay, I trust the conspiracy minded these days. They seem to be batting 100. So here we have it. Mars wants to cut and sever, but he's also combat decisions and action. Jupiter is all about truth. Mars is cutting and severing. There's America. That doesn't make me happy though necessarily to see abundantia here. And Scorpio is the 12th house of secrets in the United States. Backroom deals and negotiations. Things are done out of sight from the public. So keep that in mind. And far off foreign shores as well for the country of the USA. So Mars could be pulling the United States into war in a far offshore. Mars is the god of war next to the asteroid America. And there's abundance there. Why would abundantia be there? Wealth, prosperity, and abundance and thrival. Well, you know, I don't know if you guys know this, but you know, there's a lot of money in war, right? Northrop Grumman and all the bomb makers and the gun makers, and Biden got up in front of the country and said, hey, it's a good idea. We can make some money here. We can employ some Arizonians making guns, you know, it'll help our economy thrive. By the way, we gave our junky missiles and old tanks to Ukraine, but that's good for us because now we're going to build new ones and that helps our economy thrive. And, you know, so all said and done, war is a game of economics. The World War II took the United States into prosperity. So war can be prosperous for the nations making the guns and the armaments and the weapons. So, you know, a bunch of congressmen, basically both Democrat and Republican, bought a bunch of war type stocks before the war in Ukraine was announced. I mean, the war in Israel happened before the Hamas attacked Israel. So go figure how they were buying stocks. What kind of pre-knowledge chatter do they have? Am I making this up? No, go listen to my Monday video. If people can tell who buys stocks and when, okay, so it's a stock site that revealed this, not a conspiracy site. So a lot of purchasing of oil stocks, cybersecurity stocks, and, you know, typical war stocks, you know, airplane manufacturers, gun manufacturers, bomb manufacturers, high-tech, war stuff was underway in big buy purchases, strangely enough, before the war in Israel started. So you make of it what you will. But I'm bringing it up because this is truth bombs, guys. So what are the truth bombs coming through the sky? Something is happening here. So what do we know? Truth bombs about Hygeia will be old stories that we're all getting tired of about the pandemic and all the pandemic stuff that went on behind the scenes. I mean, every time we get a new reveal, it's just like, of course. But because Hygeia is about the health and the public and the groups of people, the society at large in Aquarius, and Jupiter is retrograde, it's about the past. It's something in the past to do with public health and wellness that is coming out to be uncovered, it probably connected to America because Asteroid America is there, in a truth bomb way. Now, when? If you went back to look at stories from 2022, May, June, to do with pandemic and pandemic health measures, if anybody has time to research it, probably it's an extension of that. Jupiter's retrograde. He's going back to the past. In May of last year, he was in Taurus, but going direct. So it's like, what kind of big stories? Was it more Wuhan lab leak? What was going on back in May, June of last year in the news cycle to do with the pandemic and maybe things that were being disclosed or hidden or contested or argued about, because this is the Synodic Aries 3 degrees conjunction, right? And how is that going to be now once again in the news? And why the news? Because Mercury's here, right? All the news is fit to print. All right, with that Scorpio sun. Second of all, Apollo is a god of leadership, not just plagues. Sure, he can be a plague narrative, but he's also leadership. So what world leaders, what Apollo sun god figures are coming into a critical turning point of a square? There was chatter or rumors that Putin had a heart attack. Is it true? I don't know. And no one can verify that. What world leaders could be coming into contact with this square, and how? How? Because like say Donald Trump, he's got a Leo ascendant 29 degrees. So maybe a actual leader who is Leonine may come into some real critical tension. Again, we're looking at disclosures, truth bombs, uncovering, revealing content, especially given that we have the eclipse on the 28th. I'm going to do an update on that eclipse, but all lunar eclipses can be revelatory. That lunar eclipse is happening on Joe Biden's moon in the house of sickness. And I've already said 100 times, I expect the October 28th eclipse to be a clear and present signal that something is going down with Joe Biden's health in the 6 months that follow. And, we'll see. That's my statement. I'm making that statement now, October the 25th. Let's see what happens. And I don't just mean as cognitive health, because, the moon can be the body and the house of sickness is where it is. And a lunar eclipse is going to reveal something that may be hidden from view that, we all need to see about what's going on with Joe's health. All right, so let's get going and let's move into the all signs portion. Don't forget, your rising sign is probably more accurate than your sun and moon. Your sun can be about your career, your father figures, your purpose, your soul. The moon can be about material circumstances, home, nest, mother, and the body, and things that seem fated. And the rising sign and its degree especially, but the rising sign is about you at the steering wheel of your life, looking at all of the houses from the first house, and it's the central character that you play. I'm an Aquarius rising. I play the role of Aquarius. My sun is in the sign of Aries, and that's my deeper fiery soul. I'm more of an Aries inside, but I'm the cool-headed, level-headed Spock on the outside. My Aquarian mind is very powerful as well. I act very Aquarian when you first meet me, but watch out when you get to know me. All that fire comes right out. All right, my Aries fire. All right, so what else can I say about this? I don't know, guys. I think that's it. I'm going to pause the recording, then I'm going to come back and finish this recording, and we're going to start with Aries, sun, moon, and rising, and talk about truth bombs and talk about the cycle that began in 2011. If you think back to 2011, May, add 2 years, there was big changes in your Aries part of your chart over the 2 years that followed. You might want to go back and think about that, because they're back again starting last summer, May of 22 through to the spring, summer of 24. There's another change cycle in place in the Aries corridor, and this is a turning point in that cycle that's being turned. The oppositional wheel is turning from the Taurus and the Scorpio axis. Now I'll delineate that for your sign in greater detail. So, are you new to my channel? Hit the like button and subscribe. A thank you to all my regulars: Discerning Light, One Wise Lady, Crystalline Alchemist, Herbal Empress, Stephen the Jupiterian, L.A. Taylor, Serge LaBelle, Misbehaving, Michael Thrash, and more. For all of you guys coming to my live premieres, being there with me, cheering me on, and liking and supporting my channel. I appreciate all of you. Now I'm pausing the recording and coming back to finish the second half of this. I have to take my daughter off to the dentist, so you'll be seeing me back here in about an hour, but you won't even know that I'm gone. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. We'll do the all signs. So I'm back. I went away for quite a bit of time here. As you can see, I'm splicing this together. Let's get going and start with Aries. I also wanted to mention that 11 degrees of the sign of Scorpio, where Mars is going to be, is the Sabian symbol 12 degrees, which is an embassy ball. And in the delineation in the book, one of the things that she writes about, because I really do like Diana Roche's The Sabian Symbols, and I want to just say, she talks about Machiavellian ways here, like doing something where the end justifies the means. Now, you might ask yourself, how does an embassy ball reflect something to do with the word Machiavellian? And that's a good question. But, sometimes I think these books are uncanny and how they delineate stuff. So Scorpio 12, I'm going to read a little bit to you, but not much. Oh, sorry, talk my mic over here. An embassy ball keyword display, but she does say that guard against committing a faux pas by failing to adequately inform yourself beforehand on the proper protocol or custom for some important social or ritual occasion. And she says grandeur, drama, politics, pomp, show, ceremony, splendor. Those are some keywords here. Where did I see the Machiavellian thing? Arrogance and class consciousness, or use of Machiavellian tactics to achieve one's desired results. I don't know. I think that Mars opposite Jupiter in the collective story with asteroid America there is going to lift up a rock and expose the truth of something. And square Hygeia already mentioned something to do with health or health matters, Apollo plague matters, but Apollo leadership. So what kind of square to leadership? Excuse me, guys, I shouldn't be fixing my hair in front of you. I know I get trolled from that. It's just I got in from outside and I'm back. I'm just all disheveled. Let's finish this up. And I'm going to go relatively quickly. I'm got to teach a Q&A for my Sky Reader class in half an hour or so. So bear with me as we go through all signs. Aries sun, moon, and rising sign. We're talking here about this energy of the Synodic Cycle initiating you in the Aries part of your sky back in January of in May of 2022. And here we come, the first big tension conflict, the oppositional turning point, the halfway point. What bold, new, big, commanding directional changes? You know, we're talking about Jupiter and Mars, kind of commander in chief, or big explosive energy, big, anyway, what were you trying to achieve as a new beginning back in that time frame? And you can go back to 2011, add 2 years. As I mentioned earlier, May of 2011, add 2 years. Now it's May of last year, 2022, add 2 years. You're still in the middle of this. This is the halfway point. So it's for your identity. It's for your body. It's who you think you are. You're trying to reset your button of who you are in the world. So for me in 2011, I had an enlightenment episode, Aries sun and moon, that boom, changed everything in the 2 years that follow as I became Jupiter, Mars, exploded into a big new identity. What is the new identity that you tried to form in 2022, May? Aries, sun, moon, and rising. That's now at the halfway mark. My big identity change was I was trying to identify myself in terms of my status, married or single, okay? With somebody or not with somebody. And I'm now with somebody. But there was a lot going on in December 22 where I was misfiring there. So, there's a big change of identity here, a big change of status. And in fact, in 2011, midway through 2011 to 2013, those 2 years, I got married, my second marriage. I'm back in that other window of time where I may get married in the next, 2 years. So like literally someone proposed to me almost last summer, but that wasn't my person. I barely knew them. So so what are we doing here when it comes to self and other, the axis of marriage or single, who we want to be, what's our identity in the world? And now we're at the halfway turning point. Look to the idea here that you're at a critical juncture of clarity, which way to take this story further, because your identity shift is pivoting at the halfway mark on matters to do with your sense of earnings, voice, vocation, and your money and resources and assets. And that's the pivot point of houses 2 and 8. Look for revelations, insights, and new ahas and understanding the 26th of October to November the 1st, as disclosures and revelations may come your way that help you pivot in the right direction around your identity. And for some of us, it's going to be about business partnerships, love partnerships, or how we wish to approach the 7th house people, our audience and marketplace. The truth bomb is financial. The direction is a shift of identity. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. Go back to 2011, May, add 2 years. Go back to 2022, May, you're in the middle of adding 2 years. This is the turning point of your 12th house matters, where Jupiter and Mars have come together in a synodic cycle. And the story wants you to look deeply, Taurus, at your addictions, self-undoing, and bad habits, the way you sabotage your own life. It may also ask you to look more clearly at revenue from foreign shores and foreign countries, as well as your spirituality and your enlightenment stuff. Now, as the synodic cycle has opened up this energy for you, we're at the halfway point, the Synodic Cycle of 180 degrees away, Jupiter and Mars. Mars is in your 7th house of significant love relationship, business partnerships, clients, audience, and marketplace, and legal contracts. Mars is opposite Jupiter. You are the truth teller. You are the one who knows what's right and true. You are holding Jupiter energy here. Now, don't forget, he is retrograde, but he is still Jupiter, and he's opposing Mars. Expect some kind of truth bomb energy that you are the revealer or discoverer or knower of the truth, gnosis. And Mars is bringing that truth and clarity from the house of your significant other, legal contracts, and business partnerships. Now, don't forget, everything's trying to pivot around getting rid of the ways you sabotage your own life. This Synodic Cycle of Mars is in the halfway point of that. Let's release it, because Jupiter always brings truth and Mars brings the action, drive, and directionality. And we want to shift those addictions, self-undoing, and particular gnarly karmic knots of the 12th house. And you're going to do the shifting on the axis of self and other. The axis of me, them, me partner, me business partner, me legal contracts with others. This is the axis of change. For some of you, it may be signaling some turning points in significant love relationships this time frame, the 26th of October to November 1st, or business partners or legal matters. Okay, so watch for what's going on here. This pivot turn is important. This is a very critical juncture in that bigger picture story. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Go back to 2011, May, add 2 years. Go back now to 2022, May, add 2 years. This is these Mars, Aries, Jupiter conjunction cycles. This particular energy is at the critical halfway turning point, but it started something new for you Geminis in your 11th house of good spirit, which means this is the house of your greater career gains, your reputation, the money that you, and the goodies you get from your 10th house of career. It's their social groups and networks of friends. And you may have, like, who are your groups of belonging, and that you choose to belong to societies, clubs, or groups of friends. Well, hey, did you think about resetting that last summer? I certainly did. I have a progressed Gemini sun, and you're really looking squarely at this idea that you're trying to reset the company you keep in some fundamental way, for example, or some of your greater, longer term dreams and wishes for your career, all right, what you want to experience and your longer range goals. And this energy of the 26th of October through to November 1st is pivoting in the axis of 612, addictions, self-undoing bad habits, working too hard. Are you driving, or the way you do the work with the routines in your work and health? These are where work health routines, Jupiter bringing truth and wisdom from a guru-like placement in the 12th house, asking you to really step into some kind of clarity spiritually, also kind of rehabby, so that you can achieve those goals. Now, I'll use me as a progressed sun just as an example. I just got back from a week in Palm Springs with a bunch of women for a girl's birthday. They were drinking like booze hounds, cannot keep up, I didn't try. I felt like the only adult amongst a bunch of teenagers. I'm 61. And so, long story short, it's like that. I'm a progressed Gemini sun saying, wow, I might have to, find a group of sober friends to hang out with. So changing your friendship groups, and the axis right now is through the house of addictions, through the house of sabotage and undoing, and the work and health routines. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and if you're watching the live premiere with me, please also hit my like button. All right, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Go back to 2011, May, add 2 years. Go back to May of 2022, add 2 years. These are synodic cycles that unfold a series of changes wherever the Jupiter-Mars conjunction happens in Aries. And that's, of course, Mars's dignity. So it's super powerful. It's your career zone. It's your reputation. It's what you're doing in the world. My Cancer rising sister started to reset her life last summer by really kicking ass as a healer, as a distance healer. You may have been realizing that last summer was the beginning of something new in that career zone. Now you're at the halfway point, and you can go back to 2011 and did you change your career in those 2 years that follow as well. But here we are. Now we're at the halfway point. We're pivoting at the critical crisis juncture of an opposition between Mars, now in his home kingdom of Scorpio, your 5th house of children, romance, sexuality, and entrepreneurship and creativity. Opposite Jupiter in your house of elder siblings, social groups, friends and belonging, and your longer term plans for your life, as well as your great gains. Let's face it, Cancer, you're going to be raking in the dough, January through to May when Jupiter goes direct in your 11th house. Right now he's retrograde, but you're going to be making a lot of money in your career then. And right now the pivot is about looking at that change of career and asking yourself, what kind of gains do you want to have? Does it source passion and joy in your life? Mars in your 5th house. Are you feeling it? Are you getting a bit enthused and inspired? If not, you're resetting here. Okay. Also, there can be romantic and children relationships that need to change right now in order for you to truly thrive in this career story that you're up to. Now, I'm going to walk away for 5 seconds. I'm not even going to pause my recording. Oh, now I'll pause the recording. I'll stop the share very briefly to grab a little bit of chocolate because I'm having one of my, yes, Lori gets a chocolate sugar low, and we'll be right back. Hi guys, I'm back. Don't forget to hit the like button and all that stuff. And if you're live premiere, especially, it helps me grow. All right. Let's get this share on the road. Resume my share. Okay, guys, we're talking next about Leos, and I'm trying to get this done in time. So hopefully this is not too fast for all you guys. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Energetically, here we go back to 2011 May and add 2 years, and go back to 2022 May and add 2 years. You're halfway through the story, in which roughly you're at the opposition point. So what happens? These are beginnings, these dates I gave you. If your 9th house, Jupiter synodic conjunction with Mars cycle. So you want to reset your spirituality, your belief, your faith, your relationship with father figures, your educational path, your book publishing path, your foreign shore and foreign land travel path. 9th house matters. You're doing a reset there with passion and ardor because it's a Mars-Jupiter conjunction in Mars's own sign. Now, of course, possibly with that energy flowing to you, which it is, it can also be very powerful every time this happens because this is a trine relationship to your Leo rising, sun and moon, that really enlivens you and brings you a lot more sense of vitality and passion as well, and hope and optimism. But go back to summer of 22, May of 22. Now it's in the middle of the 2-year cycle. And at the opposition point, you're at an inflection point, as Joe Biden says. We're at an inflection point. That's what they always say when they want to impress you with the need to make a decision that you don't think you should make. We're at an inflection point here of the opposition between Jupiter in your 10th house of career, but Mars in Scorpio at the bottom of the sky, your 4th house. It looks like a move. It looks like a lot of you Leos may need to move or want to move or need to change your home or changes in your home, construction in your home, renovations in your home, shifts of home, prosperity and renovations and change in the home. But somehow this ties into your 9th house matters because this is where the shift is happening. Some of you, halfway through this, are you thinking you want to change your home to another country, foreign shore? Are you thinking you want to do changes in your home that amplify your spirituality? You need to create a temple room or a prayer room in your home? Do you need to create a space in your home that's really special and sacred to you? And you may have to cut away something to do that. Ask someone to move out. Do some construction renovation, Mars in the 4th, or leave the home itself. And Jupiter in the 10th house is your career stuff. And so October 26th to November 1st is tension in the sky. I mean, Jupiter's kind of like, hey ho, I'm up here. I'm really focused on something. And we're not talking about the other stuff, by the way, the Hygeia and stuff. We can't do everything, guys. But I would say for you, because this is so angular, you're a prophet and you've got to clean up the hygiene in your business and marriage partnerships. But your career space is like, okay. You've got to amplify your success by the changes you make in your home as you lean into your dharma, your truest path, your true north. These words belong to the 9th house. So a lot of you are looking for a true calling, path, purpose. And this window of time, October 26th to November 1st, is a critical juncture of a pivot point in that regard. Again, a lot of it's about changes you make in and from the home. Or a conflict or blowout regarding something you're doing in your home with somebody in your work or superior boss space as well. But it's pivoting you toward the longer goal of alignment to the 9th house, which can be very much a dharmic house, like finding your truest path, your truer reason for being on Earth, true north energy. Alrighty, now we move into Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. When you look at this one, you see that you would have gone back in 2011 May, add 2 years, and then 2022 May, add 2 years, to want to do a reset in your finances. This is the money of the chunky money, 8th house, inheritances. My daughter's a Virgo rising. She got an inheritance from her grandma in 2011 to 2013, May to May. Okay, stuff does work. Jupiter Mars conjunct is a reset button of some sort, and it's very powerful because Mars is in dignity and Jupiter's fine in Aries. So it's a powerful reset in inheritances, taxes, tax rebates, money from spouse, shared resources, 401k, savings that you would invest in the stock markets and those kinds of things, credit cards and mortgages, etc. This kind of shared resources, other people's money reset began last summer in the month of May, and it's still unfolding. And now you're at a turning point energy here. And the turning point energy is going through the axis of courts and justices and legal matters and visas, but 9th house legal stuff, and the 3rd house, which has to do with siblings, but also with travel and your local neighborhood, as well as your online world. And there's pivotal energies going on with neighborhood, sibling, for 9th house, justice, legal agreements. Jupiter is joy, academic environments. I mean, a reset, I'll give you an example, a reset from the 8th house. Now, 9th house matters, money for school, scholarships, educational grants, who knows? But you've got a critical turning point that requires action and decision, right? Because it's Mars. And he's passionately engaged in your 3rd house. Some changes regarding your local neighborhood, where you live, relationships with childhood friends and neighbors, relationships with your sibling are giving you a pivot point on that chunky money energy that already is in play and will be in play, by the way, until the middle of next year. Mars likes to take trips and travel, and Jupiter does too. And this may be a critical turning point, October 26th through to November 1st, where travel plans are being hatched or travel arrangements are being hatched that are going to help define how the chunky money can operate for you. But again, with that legalese of Jupiter up there, if it's shared resources with a spouse or stuff like that, or even money that you're getting from an inheritance, you may be looking at some of the legal aspects of that kind of stuff so that you can make decisions, Mars, that are very accurately going to support your abundantia in the long run. Remember, general bell curve astrology and general ideas. You work out the details of how this is played out for you. I'm giving you the ingredients to figure it out yourself. I'm not going to tell you, get my PDF free meanings of the 12 houses should you need it in my description box for free. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. We've got this energy here back in 2011, May, add 2 years. 2022 May, add 2 years. Let's reset your button with Jupiter Mars conjunction in Aries in your 7th house of marriage, significant love relationship, business partnerships, and legal contracts and agreements. You reset back in 11, 12, what happened? 11, 12, 13. Here we go again. But this is a halfway critical turning point in that longer synodic cycle. And this is connecting to your 8th house of shared resources that you legally must share, Jupiter, with others, inheritances, spousal money, business partner monies, allied monies with another person, including investments. And Mars is asking you to take critical decisions and steps and make action plans in your 2nd house of earnings and resources. So this is a financial axis that's activating a relational axis. Some of you will definitely be looking at situations where you're trying to figure out what to do with the money and to shared money with another, or illegal contracts and agreements regarding resources and money coming strongly to your attention the 26th of October to November 1st as that Mars-Jupiter opposition heats up its energy for you. There can be some harsh conversation here. Mars, Mercury in the 2nd with somebody in your life. Mars does rule your marriage house and business partners, and you may be having difficult conversations with those people around financial things. And technically with Pluto and a broad trine to Jupiter in the 8th house, for some of you, this is in dealing with legacy, wealth, inheritances, but also with land, property, and resources, and major turning points with you and a significant other. And it could even involve clarifying conversations about moving in together or moving apart. and also who owns what and who gets what in terms of property and resources. Just for some of you, Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. Certainly it can indicate a change of direction for sure when it comes to a relationship, but it's about the money, whether it's a business relationship or a love relationship. Scorpio, this is your thing, right? Mars is the Lord of you. He's in the house of you, but it's going off of a reset button that you can go back to 2011 May and then add 2 years, go back to this last May of 2022, and you're in the middle of a 2-year story where you're getting a reset in your 5th house of children, fertility, romantic and sexual love, creative projects of all kinds, and entrepreneurship. And this is a reset button. So you're like moving in new directions here since last summer. And basically Mars is saying, we're at a critical turning point here, everybody. Oh, sorry. I can't re-record. I don't have time to edit. I'm so sorry. Black. Sorry. I apologize. This is a reset in your work and health. Forget the whole 5th house delineation. But if I try to take time to edit this, I won't get it out in time. Sorry about that, guys. So if you're Scorpio rising, the reset button is in your 6th house back in 2011, add 2 years. And now here, summer last year, May of last year, add 2 years. You're trying to reset your work, your work routines, your job, your place of employment, your place of residency, if you have to sign leases, your pet situation, 6th house matters, our home domestic animals, and finally 6th house matters is your health matters. So these are all under big reset for Scorpios at this time. And this halfway turning point is a juncture in which your significant other in business and love and you, self and other, or clients, audience, marketplace, 7th house, Jupiter people, and you, carrying the Martian sword in your hand, looking for abundance, being very direct and cutting and penetrating in the way you communicate with others, especially business partners, clients, and significant others. You do have Jupiter in your marriage house. This blesses you till next May, end of year, and often brings on weddings. But in the meantime, you're in a critical turning point in self and other relationship dynamics that inform your work decisions, health decisions, pet decisions, and rental property decisions. And some of you look like you need to clean up the mess in your house. Hygeia in the 4th house, is it a physical mess or is it an unhygienic home? You need to do some home hygiene as well, but I don't want to focus too much on that. I wanted to get the more of the axis of change that's connecting to the Synodic Cycle. Okay, so if you are a Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising, you might want to go back and look at what was happening in 2011 and go back to, that's May of 2011, add 2 years. And then last year, May of 2022, add 2 years, you had a Synodic Cycle reset of Jupiter and Mars co-joining in your house of children, fertility, pregnancy, and creativity. Sag friend of mine had a grandchild born, and also grandchildren can come from the house of your children during that window of time. So what is the Synodic Cycle resetting still? Well, some of it can be something you want to reset or change about your entrepreneurial or creative directions in life and your enjoyment of life in general. Trying to find more joy and enjoyment in your sexuality, romance, and fun, and children, and life, and creativity, and entrepreneurship. And you're resetting that, but now we're at a halfway turning point between October the 26th and November the 1st, kind of as that ongoing Mars opposition to Jupiter critically turns the corner for you regarding how you can have that joy, enjoyment, fun, play, pleasure, sexuality, creativity, entrepreneurial success, but all and fertility, but also in the context of your health, your work routines, your self-undoing, self-sabotaging strategies and addictions, your karmic knots and patterns of karmic crud that you need to clear out. You're looking at a lot of deep soul work that you need to do here, Sagittarius. Some kind of watch what you're doing in your therapeutic soul work, psychological area of your life between the 25th or 6th of October and November 1st to help you critically move towards greater joy, fun, and pleasure in your life as a new reset button. And you may need to clear up some stuff with siblings, clean up the sibling mess, clean up the childhood friend mess, clean up the mess with the neighbors, Hygeia, in your 3rd house. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a synodic reset cycle that happened back in 2011, May, add 2 years. July last year, May 2022, add 2 years, where Mars and Jupiter conjunct in your fourth house of property, homeland, and real estate are happening. My Capricorn ex-husband, rising sign, changed countries from that May of last year reset button. And my soulmate James is a Cap Sun Anoretic, and he's also had a huge amount of changes with his home, right? So this Mars conjunct Jupiter cycle is trying to uproot you or change where you live or what you do in and from your home. And now we're at the halfway point of the cycle in terms of the opposition. And this is where Jupiter and Mars are duking it out opposite from each other. You might be able to be some bold, confident decision making for sure. But as it applies to the words elder sibling, friends as allies and benefactors, greater gains from your career, and Jupiter in the house of entrepreneurship, independent enterprise, children, fertility, and creativity. I've said over and over, a lot of Caps are going to find this is a particularly acute window for finding out about becoming a grandparent, for example, or one of your children being pregnant. But this energy here too is like Jupiter wants you to find some joy in enjoyment in your life, and he's retrograde, so you're going back over old ground to figure out what brings you joy, and you'll know more next year when he goes direct in the first 5 months of next year. But as you're trying to figure that out, he's also about prosperity, and this is an entrepreneurial house. So some of you Caps are looking at some entrepreneurial things that you wish to create. Some of you might be looking at pregnancy and fertility decisions you're trying to make at this juncture. And those are going to impact where you live. Where is your home? And you'll be figuring out your home story for sure, okay, by midway through next year, because we're going to start a new synodic cycle of the Jupiter Mars conjunction next summer. Well, before the summer. I think it's in June, but anyway, you know what I mean. You get the gist of it. So there you go. Hopefully that's useful. And because Mercury's up there with Mars, look for information, phone calls, text messages, news coming from big siblings, friends as allies and benefactors, and things like that to give you a directional clue regarding the word home. I'm you, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. We are one. My mind to your mind, my mind to your mind, the Vulcan mind meld. We are here. Lead goose for humanity for the next 20 years. I'll explain why another day. So bottom line, we have a reset button, right? That happened in 2011, May, add 2 years. And then May of 2022, add 2 years. We're in the middle of this. And this is now the oppositional point, a critical turning point. The reset button, though, is in our third house of neighbors, neighborhood, trips, travel, online world, teaching and learning, skills-based teaching and learning. During this window of time, you've been making some reset energies in this part of your chart. And for some of you, it can look like a change of neighborhood, which happened to me in 2011 as an Aquarius rising. From 2011 to 2013, I lived in a house, but then at the end of that, we changed our neighborhood. My husband and I moved to a different neighborhood. So there was a shift of neighborhood and neighbors. So there's a reset button here. You may also be resetting your relationship with a younger sibling. You may be resetting your relationship to what you wish to learn or teach. So keep that in mind. And this reset button here can energize you now, the 26th of October through to November 1st, to get clarity about pivoting in this idea of changes to your third house stuff, and writing projects. Back in 2011-12, I was writing and finishing up my book, How to Love, which is a memoir. And so that was a writing project in the works. And now I'm writing a couple other things, but believe me, they're not getting much done. So I'm at a turning point, an inflection point. We all are. And it has to do with where we live, our home, where we want to nest, what kind of prosperity we wish to generate in our home. Fourth house matters with Jupiter retrograde, opposite Mars in the 10th house of career, and our ambition there, our focus, our drive, our will. Mars is invisible until January, but right now he's still in our 10th house. So how are we looking at making changes in our career and reputation space, new directions, with prosperity and abundance as a part of our narrative that is going to also allow us to be more clear about what we wish to offer on Third House Matters, social media, platforms, websites, local neighborhood, virtual neighborhood, travel, trips, and sibling relationships. For example, because this is a critical juncture on the home axis as well as the career axis where this turning point is playing out, you could ostensibly make an argument that you're going to change your neighborhood, your home to a new neighborhood, but you could also make an argument some of your changes to your neighborhood are reliant on situations with siblings, especially younger, or that things you wish to offer from home, Jupiter in the 4th house, that you are creating prosperity in doing from your home to offer into that 10th house of your Mars-driven passion and ambition, really are going to be directing you toward the right direction regarding the change of neighborhood, neighbors. We'll see what happens. Go back and look for that cycle for history to let you know what might be going on here. Especially with that North Node traveling through Aquarius rising's 3rd house. You're going to be doing a lot of traveling in the next year and a half, right? A lot of trips, a lot of journeys, but maybe huge changes to Rahu means the foreigner, the North Node, a foreign neighborhood. Some people know I've had an opportunity to maybe inhabit China for a bit of time as a, like living there for a bit. And I think that'd be so much what this chart could say for me as an Aquarius rising. We'll see though. And first and always first, best and always best, Pisces sun, moon, rising. Go back to 2024, what was going on in your, go back to 2011, May, add 2 years. Go back to 2022, May, add 2 years. We're in the middle of that reset in Aries. For you, Aries, reset, Jupiter conjunction with Mars is your earnings and money. You're wounded since 2019. You're feeling wounded financially around the way you make money, resources and money, maybe even having some facial wounding and you don't like the way you look. But this energy here of resetting your money story last summer is now giving its critical turning point juncture between houses 3 and 9, meaning that things that have to do with siblings, younger siblings, trips, travels, journeys, learning, education, online world stuff, Jupiter in your 3rd, opposite, and this is bold confidence, by the way, 9th house, father figures, 3rd marriages, foreign lands, visas, legal matters, court cases. This 9th house axis is demanding some attention. Well, you need to take action, make decisions, get some communications, find your abundance. Between 9th, 3rd axis. Now, 9th house is the meaning of life. It's the Dharma. It's moving into the right flow and direction with your unique gifts, talents, and skills. Jupiter in the 3rd house, so is trying to bring you opportunity and abundance in the land of siblings, in the land of the online world, in the land of the world of your neighbors and neighborhood, virtual and real. So some big shift is in this house axis, and this is a travel axis, right? 9 and 3 can bring travel. And so some travel opportunities, the 26th of October to November 1st may be emerging, whether you actually take them yet or just know about them. Mercury is all the news that's fit to print. It's going to be aligning you with this new reset in your earning structure and the way you make money. For best guesses of how this works for you, as I always say, look at the past. 2011, May to 12 to 2013, if any changes were happening in the earning strategy, may you make money. Self-worth, self-possession. This is particularly more intense for you because you've got Saturn moving through the house of you, making you realistic and sober-minded, responsible and dutiful and wise, but you've been having a Chiron transit through your earnings house since 2019, and a lot of you felt very difficult challenges around your finances since then, as you have been looking to heal the fundamental wound of self-worth and self-love and self-possession. So I know that was fast. I realized I talked quickly. I do apologize if it was too fast for some of you. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, do the thing, help my channel grow, please. My subscriptions are slowing down. My views are up, my ad revenue is up, but I'm not getting as many conversions because they changed the algorithm. So it seems anyway in September. And a lot of us astrology channels really pulled back in our subs. I don't know if they were dumping subs out or they started to introduce us to a new audience who aren't our people. You share astrology with a carpenter and they might watch it, right? They might view it, but they won't subscribe. So unfortunately, they tinkered with the algorithm. And I was like at 3,000, 3,500 subscribers a month. Now I'm usually 2,000. Last month, 2,200. I'll be lucky to break that this month as well. So if you haven't subscribed and you're one of my followers, would you please do that? It does help me a lot. Thank you, everybody. Mwah. I'll see you in the next video, which is an update on that eclipse in Taurus coming up a day after this one.